My name is Kate Colley. I am a men's coach and hypnotherapist. I help men transform their lives from the inside out. If you are new to my content, I dive deep into the root cause behind things. And so in this video today, yes, I will be sharing 6 signs to look for in an emotionally healthy and emotionally available woman. And then at the end, I'm going to address the concern of well, why am I attracted to emotionally unavailable women, or why do I keep attracting them into my world? And I just want to start off by saying it's a really painful experience when we start to fall for somebody, or maybe we've been in a relationship with them for a really long time. And then we start to realize, oh, they're not emotionally available. By then you're already bonded to them. I'm sure you've already had sex with them. And it can be quite difficult at that point to leave and to really see it clearly for what it is. And so whether you've been in a relationship for a while and you're not sure if she's emotionally available, or you're in the dating process and you just want these signs so that you can catch it early on, this will be a really useful video for you. Sign number 1 is that she is comfortable with her emotions. She's comfortable with vulnerability. Everybody has a different threshold early on in the dating process of how open she's going to be with her emotions. And so this isn't necessarily looking for full vulnerability on a first date, but really pay attention to the words that she uses when she's expressing something vulnerable or something emotional. Some things you can look for are I feel statements. I feel really happy. I feel really sad. I felt really confused when da 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 da. The other side of that is if she goes into a story of either complaining where she's leaving the emotional, vulnerable component out of it, or she's blaming other people and expressing unhealthy emotions via her body language or just her overall vibe, but not really addressing the vulnerability underneath it. And one way you can really look at this, especially early on in dating, is to really pay attention to her body language. If something that feels appropriately vulnerable comes up on a first date, second, third, fourth, or whenever in the relationship, you know each other well enough where this being brought into the space should maybe just feel safe, but she shuts down and you're watching her body language and she's pursing her lips together. It's just something to look out for. It doesn't necessarily mean one thing or the other, but pay attention to those subconscious cues from her body language that is demonstrating how comfortable really is she with her emotions and with her vulnerability, because that is such a depth of a feminine trait. Feminine women are connected to their heart. They're connected to their emotions. And then a healthy feminine woman can express that from a place of integrity and a place of love and respect for you. I do have another video that I will post somewhere up above that is reading body language for dating success. So I will post that in case you want to get into the specifics of that. Number 2 is that she respects your boundaries. So this could be any kind of a boundary that you set, including external and internal boundaries. So an external boundary would be timing. An external boundary would be a broad expectation of her responsiveness to your texting, to your calling, to her checking in, to her awareness and eyes on your well-being, again, depending on where you are in the dating stages. But those are all boundaries to look out for. A lot of times people think of boundaries of this is what I say no to. And then it's well, how often are you saying no to stuff? That's a very obvious boundary in the dating process. And so it can be hard to test, but there's more nuanced and subtle boundaries, such as time. Is she always late? Does she not comment on it? Does she not express why she was late? Does she blame other people or other things for being late? These would be disrespecting your time boundaries. Does she not text back for days? That's disrespecting your self-worth, because for anybody to have that kind of hot, cold experience with someone that they're dating, it's really uncomfortable. And We all know this and we can all relate to this. And maybe that is saying that she's avoidant. Maybe she's a really great person, but she's not at the emotional maturity to really have overcome any type of avoidant behaviors. And therefore, that would be a self-worth boundary for you. So, internal boundaries would be more of like around your sense of self. So even like your favorite color versus my favorite color, that's a boundary because that's where my sense of self is different from your sense of self. And so if you find her attacking your sense of self in a way that doesn't feel good, that would be disrespectful of your boundaries. Number 3 is that she is self-aware. So this one's a little bit harder to spot, but just pay attention to what she talks about. Does she use the language that we have in the self-development world? Does she easily and potentially even frequently reflect on herself and her relationships? Does she take ownership of her actions, or is she constantly pointing fingers? Number 4 is, does she have a positive outlook on relationships? I think that one of the best ways to spot this is, not that people talk about exes or that you should talk about exes necessarily, depending on where you're at with it, but does she blame exes? Does she blame her kid's dad for everything? Does she reflect on past circumstances, her past romantic relationships, especially in a negative light? Is she constantly saying things about people where you can just kind of tell that her natural orientation towards people are that people are bad? That she's not very trusting? Or can you sense that she really believes in the goodness of people and again is willing to self-reflect on the relationships that have not worked out in the past? Number 5 is that she does not play games. Anybody that is still playing games in that way, especially around texting back, not being straightforward, not being honest, being elusive or not upfront, especially when it comes down to more vulnerable type things, is a definite sign that she is not emotionally ready for you. And number 6 is that she has a healthy relationship with herself. So some red flaggy signs to look for is, how does she speak about herself? How does she treat herself and her body? Does she put down herself? If you give her a compliment, can she receive it? Or does she kind of push it away? Does she immediately say something like, oh, that's not true? Does she drink too much on dates? Does she complain that she looks fat or that she looks ugly? Does she comment on her body or her appearance in unhealthy ways? Even if she says it in a joking kind of way, that is a definite sign that there are roots to something deeper that is causing her to reject herself. And therefore, because everything is mirrored, she won't be able to fully love and respect and accept you in the way that you need, want, and desire most. Because all of intimacy starts with intimacy with self. So if you are listening to this list and you're just like, oh shit, I keep attracting, or I am attracted to women that are not emotionally ready for me, that are not emotionally mature, that are disrespecting boundaries, then that would be the indication for you to take a deep dive into yourself. I will say this as a very, very broad statement, but almost always the root cause of being in this situation where you are attracting women that are not emotionally mature, that are not emotionally available, it usually is an indication that there is a mother wound within you as the man that is just not healed enough yet. Because relationship with the mother figure is, for men and women, is the first relationship that you have to the feminine. Oftentimes, it's those experiences, whether unknown or known, right? So it could be like it could be as far as trauma that you remember, and it could be as deep and complex as pervasive personality traits or mild bipolar disorder from the mother figure, or just a mother that was not fully able to really show up and meet your needs in the way that you needed, wanted, desired most as a child in order to fully develop into the authentic man that you were meant to be. All of these can create, I kind of like to think of them as like faulty programs in our subconscious. And once those faulty programs are there, they exist as like childlike consciousness. So they exist as childlike wounding, and it influences our little reticular activating system, which is what we sort for in relationships subconsciously. Again, if the wounding is there, it's sending up messages to all of your five senses so that you can orientate to something or someone that resembles in some way the first relationship you had with the feminine, so that you actually have an opportunity to heal that pattern. Now, most people get tripped up because they try to heal and change the other person. Essentially, they try to make the unavailable person available, because then that would feel good to the sense of self and feel good to the heart. But we all need to be on the same page that you cannot change another person. Never. Don't ever expect it. The only thing that you have empowerment relative to is changing yourself. So if you keep experiencing emotionally unavailable women, rather than trying to change them and rather than doing nothing and keep going out into the dating pool, flip the script. Take your flashlight of awareness and really point it inward and see where the childlike aspects of your sense of self beneath the hood of your conscious awareness is harboring patterns of either unworthiness, of the belief system that women don't want to meet your needs, of potentially even the fear of intimacy. I mean, there's so much that could be in there that is influencing why this situation keeps happening in your world. And I do have a free gift for you if you'd like to get started doing this type of internal self-discovery in a way that is wildly beneficial and specifically for men. Because this emotional exploration of the subconscious and of the shadow is, there can be a lot there. And I think for a lot of men, it feels scary to step into that, or it feels like something that just doesn't come naturally to you as a man. So just know that that is wonderful and good. This is not supposed to come naturally to you as a man. This is why I have created this masterclass for you, because it comes very naturally to me specifically, but also it usually comes a little bit more naturally to women in general to do this deep dive, this exploration, this internal process. And so in the masterclass, it'll walk you through 3 really important steps for you to articulate, find, and then also shift within that 40-minute masterclass, whatever you are still harboring within you, so that you can transcend out of it and become wildly confident, wildly attractive, and deeply rooted in your authentic self-worth. So I will put the link in the description. Make sure you like this video, comment on this video. It would mean the world to me. Subscribe to my channel. I love you very much, and I will see you soon.